Hello there everybody, it is me XfreezerBunny. Welcome back to another Sims 4 speed build, and welcome back to Sulani. It's been a while since I built in this beautiful world, but I'm so happy to finally be back, and this time we are building my very first community space in The Sims 4. Now, community space is a brand new lot type that came with The Sims 4 Eco Lifestyle. And it's basically a place where you would take your Sims to craft items or to work on a particular skill. Now, the community space is very special because it's actually 4 different lots in one. Basically, you can change the community space through the voting system in the neighborhood action plans to fit what you want your Sims to pursue as far as their skills go or as far as their crafting goes. So aside from the main community space lot type, you can also change this into a community garden, a marketplace, and into a makerspace. So in this build, we will be building the community space base lot type, and then we're also going to be furnishing all 3 different variations of the lot type as well. So this build, believe it or not, was actually inspired by 2 things. The first is a news story that I saw recently about how rising sea levels were affecting low-lying island nations such as the Maldives and other Pacific islands, and also the second thing that inspired this build, in particular the shape of the structure of this build, is a very interesting floating farm concept called the Jellyfish Barge. I shared it on Twitter. If you're interested to learn more about it, I highly suggest you read the tweet that I shared because it's a very fascinating concept, but that's what inspired me to come up with this shape. So basically, I came up with a scenario where there's this island community that's struggling because of rising sea levels, and to cope with that, they came up with this idea of making a floating community center so that they can, still be productive despite the fact that their community is basically sinking. So I was really happy with how this turned out. I am very fascinated with these kinds of projects, and in fact, when I was in college studying architecture, I actually had a project. Well, it was a group project actually about aquaponics. It was like a little furniture design that we did, and also one of my thesis proposals that got rejected was something very similar to this. It was a modular farming module type thing, so very interesting. One of my friends actually from college suggested that I share some of my student work with you guys, and maybe I'm gonna do that. Who knows, in the future, we'll see. But other than that, I'm so excited to be back in Sulani. To be honest, I forgot how beautiful this world was until I started building in it again, and holy moly, look at how pretty that water is. It is so beautiful. I gotta say that Sulani is so stunning. I kind of wish that we had more things to do in it though, because I always don't really move my Sims in here because there's really not much to do. But other than that, I'm really happy to be back. It's been a very eventful week for the Sims community in general. Obviously, for those of you who have been following what's been going on social media, the new pack has been announced. It's, I believe, called Journey to Batuu, which is a Star Wars themed pack. I think it's a game pack, I don't know. A lot of you have been asking how I feel about the pack, and to be honest, I'm not excited about the pack. I saw the trailer a couple of times, and honestly, I didn't get any of the references. I don't think I'm also excited for another story-driven pack like Strangerville, because to be honest, I didn't really play that much with Strangerville. The items were great, but the gameplay-wise, to me, wasn't that entertaining. I don't really like doing these kind of linear, story-driven experiences. if you're excited for the Star Wars pack, then I'm happy for you. If you're not excited, then to be honest, I feel like that opinion is valid as well. I think all of our feelings are valid, so yeah. Anyway, that's my thought on that. And also one thing that I want to kind of do a little bit of an announcement on is that I currently am working on a collab with some really amazingly talented people, and we're going to be announcing that throughout the next couple of days, so please stay tuned to the channel and also to social media for more of that. So the concept for this build was really to make a floating farm. So basically the shape of this was really meant for a community garden basically, and in my opinion I think it's my favorite variation of this lot type. I may be biased, but I love farming and I love gardening, and I love how the community garden aspect of this turned out, even though I also really loved the marketplace and the makerspace as well. But right now we're actually working on just the base community space build, and basically there's really not much to do in this type of variation for this lot, because the only thing you need for the community space is that community board, and that's pretty much it. If you look at the one in Evergreen Harbor, the only thing that it has is really a community board and a lot of trash. Because basically before I did this, I did look at some inspiration from the existing community space lot that we had in Evergreen Harbor, and the community space didn't have anything in it. I thought it was just me, but then I saw the different variations, and basically I think you're supposed to do the neighborhood action plans thing to actually get any use out of that place. Also, you don't really have to go to a community space to vote for the neighborhood action plans, because you can do it, I think, through your Sims phone or your computer. So that's that. I think you can also do it by clicking on the NPCs as well. I forgot their name, but they're the ones that keep visiting your lot basically and asking you to do stuff. So yeah, I did play a little bit of Eco Lifestyle when it came out. I actually had a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the crafting aspects and also the strategy aspect that the new, energy and water management introduced. I think that my only criticism is that it's kind of hard to visualize all of that information because it's not really available, how much energy you're producing versus how much you're consuming and all of that. I wish they came up with that system a little bit more obviously, because right now it's kind of a hit or miss. Like, I don't know what my lot or like how much my lot is affecting the rest of the neighborhood, if that makes sense. This build would not have been possible without the tool mod, because as you can see, pretty much the entire structure of this build is done using the tool mod by the amazing Twisted Mexi. I will put a link to the mod in the description. You don't need it to download this build or to make it functional. Basically, the tool mod is just an advanced moving tool to give you more flexibility when it comes to placing different items, and in this case it is not a requirement for this build to look the way it is. The only thing you need are the packs that I used, and other than that, it's gonna look exactly the way it is. I also suggest that you place it on this exact same lot, because I noticed that the different lots in Sulani have different beaches and this one was made specifically for this beach. So if you put it somewhere else, it might not look the same, because as you can see, the floating part of this lot is actually like very specifically placed, so it kind of looks weird if you don't put it where it's supposed to be, basically. So right here we're working on this little detail. Basically, I felt like the entire build was a little bit horizontal, so I wanted to add a little bit of a vertical axis, so I decided to incorporate this custom made wind turbine stand. It kind of looks like a mini observation tower, if you guys get what I mean, like a mini Tokyo tower or Tokyo Skytree, but I just used it to place this wind turbine, once again using the tool mod to move those logs into place. The specific wooden pieces that I use are actually from Eco Lifestyle, because the ones that came with base game and the other packs actually don't work with the tool mod, so it can be kind of tricky to find which items work with the tool mod. But usually I notice the items that came with later packs, like Eco Lifestyle and Strangerville, a lot of them work with tool mod, which is why I actually use a lot of Strangerville in my builds, because a lot of the items actually can be used with the tool mod. But right now we're still working on the base community space lot type, and to make it a little bit more functional, I did put a busking station in there, which is from Late Night. Basically, you can come here, bring your Sims here, and do some performances for tips, which is great. I noticed that that little spot where the busking station is also looks good as a wedding venue, so I should have come up with that for the Sparked community challenge, to do like an exotic wedding venue. To be honest, I was really busy that time, so I really didn't get to do anything for the challenge, which is kind of a bummer, because I would like to have tried my hand at it, but I already had other commitments when it came out. So yeah, I don't know, we still have other Spark challenges anyways, so hopefully I can do some in the future. But yeah, right here we are placing in these lights from toddler stuff. I always get confused which pack these come from, because sometimes I think they're from kids room stuff, sometimes I think they're from Parenthood. That's one thing that's really confusing about The Sims 4, is how convoluted everything can get, because a lot of packs kind of have a similar art style. Like, I would say Parenthood, Laundry Day, kids room stuff, and toddler stuff could have easily just been one expansion pack or game pack, you know, because they're so similar. Anyway, we are working on this little outhouse bathroom area, which is a requirement for this lot type. So I just made this kind of recycled looking bathroom, because I imagine this place would definitely upcycle a lot of waste that gets washed ashore. So basically for this little shack right here, I imagine it would have been made using driftwood or some, you know, galvanized iron pieces that got washed up ashore. By the way, for this build, I did go for kind of modern island-y meets somewhat post-apocalyptic vibes, so it's kind of a mix basically, but I wanted it to feel kind of like a near future kind of thing, you know, maybe in the next couple of decades we'll start seeing these implemented in a lot of smaller island countries, so that's kind of the look I was going for. I was not referencing any of the shapes that we saw in the Journey to Batu trailer, even though when I saw this build from afar, I was like, you know what, this shape of these like octagonal floating pieces kind of remind me of something you would see in Star Wars. I don't know, this build was actually built on the day that the trailer was announced, so I had no idea actually that that was gonna be the new pack. To be honest, this is one of the few times that I actually didn't listen to any of the leaks. Like, I didn't believe the leaks because, to be honest, the leak was about this thumbnail thing icon on the loading screen, and it didn't look real to me. The icon for some reason looked like it was made in Microsoft Paint or something. But then a lot of people started speculating that it was going to be about Star Wars or whatever. I didn't believe it, and to my surprise, it was true. Like, all the time, all of these leaks come true. Like, seriously, who comes up with these? Like, somebody in EA must be trolling them, because every pack, almost every pack that gets announced gets leaked. So they gotta beef up their security over there, I gotta say. Okay, so now we're finally done working on the structure of the community space. And by the way, just a tip, if you're planning to build a community space yourself, finish building the community space base lot itself before changing the lot type, or before looking at the different lot variations, because it's gonna copy the one that you do previously. So in this case, I had to finish everything, including the landscaping, so that I didn't have to completely redo everything, because that would have been annoying. So just keep that in mind. Also, if you build a lot on, you know, the parts where you know it's gonna change, if you change the lot type, it may be difficult for you because you're gonna have to delete everything. Like in this case, when I built these like garden areas, a lot of them got copied over to like the marketplace and to the makerspace for some reason, so I had to delete them as well, so that was pretty annoying. But yeah, right now we are working on probably my favorite part of this build, which is kind of like this floating vertical garden type area, very aquaponic. I keep mentioning that in this build, but aquaponic is basically like a farming technique that doesn't use any soil, so I wouldn't necessarily consider this like an aquaponic system, because as you can see, the vertical gardens do have some soil in them, but you know, it is what it is. Okay, that was pretty quick. I like how the garden area turned out actually, especially this little kind of greenhouse area. I would totally take my sim in here and have them do their gardening. I think it's great. This lot type would be very useful if you have a sim living in like an apartment, because when I first lived in Evergreen Harbor, I actually moved my sim in an apartment, and for some reason a lot of my plants kept dying, and also a lot of the bugs, like, you know, the insects that we can keep in the new insects farm, they also kept dying as well. I don't know. But now we're working on the marketplace area, which surprisingly turned out really nice. At first, I thought the marketplace was going to be the most useless, because I didn't really see much of a point in gameplay regarding this, but I actually really like how it came out. It's kind of like this industrial bohemian vibes. I didn't know that Eco Lifestyle actually came with those new market stalls, and they look so cute. Of course, I had to include one of those Freezer Bunny ones, right? And also, you might have noticed that throughout the different variations of this build, you will see this little boat docked over here, and it changes depending on what type you decide to have this built in. So it's a different one for the garden, and also for the last part, the makerspace, it's going to be a completely different boat that I'm going to be putting there. For the marketplace, I had no idea what I was going to put in this floating bit. At first I was just going to put some dining tables in here, but then I decided against it because I did want them to be a little bit more functional, so I put some fire pits instead, similar to how the community space base version of this is. And now we are finally moving on to the last little bit of this build, which is furnishing the makerspace. Now for this style of this place, I decided to go for a more industrial vibes, I guess, because basically for the garden area, definitely went for more eco. For the marketplace, it's kind of like in between, and then this one is definitely very industrial. A lot of the items that I placed here definitely emit an industrial footprint, which probably is something you wouldn't like, especially in an island setting. But you know what, some of these are required to make this functional, so I did place them over here. I'm not sure if somebody pointed out, but I kind of wish that these fabricators had kind of like an industrial look, because to me they look a little bit more modern and futuristic. So yeah, I wish they came with a more, you know, industrial looking one, because that would have worked so much better with all of the industrial items that I put in here. But yeah, here you can see me just placing in some craftable items as well, and there I am putting this giant boat over here. Well, it's not giant, it's one that came with pets actually, and yeah, I think that it's a nice little detail, you know, if you want more like realism, because having a boat there kind of signifies that there's stuff being delivered here like on a regular basis. So here I'm just furnishing, adding a little bit more detail to the market area, and also we are lighting up the place. I like the lights that I chose here in the makerspace because I used some really colorful looking base game lights. But I think that's actually going to be it for this build. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Please let me know how you felt about this community space in the comments below. But other than that, I'm gonna go now. Thank you guys so much for watching. You all have an awesome day. Enjoy the rest of the video, and I will see you guys next time. Bye bye.